Derrick Dukart. We're located just west of Manning, North Dakota, which is located north of Dickinson. We are I'm on my home place where my great-grandfather bought it back in 1918. So we're just the third generation on the place, and my kids are the fourth. We work in conjunction with my parents, Doug and Sandy Dukart, and my wife, Angie. We started using cover crops, kind of came to the knowledge base of it starting back in 2008. At that time, cover crops was fairly new. It was coming onto the scene of alternative sources for forage, grazing. We were in a drought situation at that time. Moving forward, we experimented with different species, different types, either cool season or warm season, either grasses or brassicas, or different parts of the mix. And moving into 2022 now, we started using primarily full season cover crops. The big detriment to the cover crops was moisture after we had seeded it. Especially after a hay crop, oats and peas, or hay barley, or winter forage wheat. We just transitioned into the full season and been using that ever since, probably in like 2014, 2015 time frame. Probably since the last 5-6 years, we kind of got a mix that we're happy with. It works. We're still fine-tuning it. And then seed availability is always a big not detriment, but a big part of getting the seed. The one mix that we like is we want a sorghum sedan or a BMR type product in the ground along with a millet for our warm season grasses. Since we're seeding in June, we get enough growth on it to allow enough cover once we do graze it. We do add the sunflowers into it. Just depends on the year of what we get and what the type of ground that we're going into. If it's a full season crop, we're going into either an oat stand that was hayed the year before or combined for seed production, or it's a barley stand. This field particular was a forage winter wheat stand. One drawback on a full season, you have no weed control, so whatever weeds grow, if it's kochia or ragweed or whatever, it's there. The weeds aren't such a problem because we can go back in with Roundup Ready corn the next year, and we'll pretty much take care of some of those weed problems that we do have. That ground it's been no-tilled since early 2000s. It started getting cover crops in probably 2008, 2010, and about every 3 years it'll get a cover crop typically, depending on the rotation of the crops. And that ground, it's kind of amazing because there's so much biological activity happening. Like if we get a rain, it won't wash. It'll actually hold the moisture, and then you go out there a day later and you'll just see earthworms, just loaded with earthworms. The last 3 years, we have pretty much drought. Earthworms haven't been much for activity, but we did a tour on that field, probably 10 years ago, and the guy took a sample of it, and it was just beautiful soil and the worms in there, and it was progress. Hopefully we can get back to that form again at some point. A good source is our mentoring network through the North Dakota Grazing Lands Coalition. There's many of us on there that have either grazed or used cover crops, which is a good source, free of charge to the general public. One phone call and we're willing to visit. Other sources are seed dealers. If it's Agassiz or Pulse USA or Dakota Cover Crop in Dickinson, they have somewhat of a knowledge base, especially on the seed end of it. Other sources are just talk to the North Dakota Extension Service. Well, people will call and ask about a cover crop. For instance, I had a producer call the other day, and we were talking. He was taking a piece of hay ground and he wanted to put a cover crop into it. And process of elimination, I just kept asking questions what the purpose was behind it. He kept referring back to he wanted to make hay off of it. I said, well, if you're going to plant a cover crop, part of it is rebuilding the soil back to its originality. We'll never get back to the original soil that we had, but we're going to make it better over time. And with cover crops, you have to be patient, and you got to have an end goal in mind. If I'm going to graze this cover crop, or if I'm going to just leave this in the field until the spring of the year and go into it and seed a crop into it, that's the goal. 90% of the cover crops that we seed, we're trying we want to put a cow on it, just from the standpoint the cow's going to recycle and make the cover crop more beneficial to the soil faster. I always tell guys, you got to have a goal in mind in the end. Then you work backwards from there. And a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, they'll all agree, and hopefully they, in the end, are working towards that end goal that they want to, hopefully, and don't skip a step in the process.